Oops.
Okay. Today, my guest is Professor Shige Makino. I'll keep my introduction short to maximize our time with him. In the next 30 minutes or so, we'll talk about Shige as a person, Professor Makino is a thought leader and an esteemed scholar, and finally is a mentor to many PhD students and junior faculty. For the sake of time, I'll skip many of his accomplishments and give you a very quick snapshot. Professor Shige Makino is a fellow of the Ivey, an emeritus professor at Chinese University of Hong Kong, and a professor at the Kyoto University. His research focuses on strategy and performance of multinational corporations. His research has appeared in a number of leading journals, including AMJ, JIBS, Journal of Management Studies, Org Science, and SMJ. Shige has served as Secretary, Treasurer of the AIB Fellows, Vice President of the AIB, and President of the Association of Japanese Business Studies. He has been serving as an associate editor of Global Strategy Journal and editorial board member of multiple international journals. He has received many research awards and recognitions, most recently the JIBS Gold Medal from the AIB. Thank you, Shige, for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for your introduction.
First question, what did you want to become when you were a child?
As a child, I wanted to be a journalist because I loved writing. I was particularly interested in, international news reporting because I was interested in foreign culture. I developed my strong interest in foreign culture because I watched many foreign TV dramas, such as the last year Tom and Jerry, Thunderbird, and A Little House on the Prairie. Yeah. So in the end, I didn't become a journalist, but now that I'm I have many opportunities to attend international conferences and seminars abroad to present my idea. So I feel like I'm doing something similar to the work of an international journalist. So I'm quite satisfied now.
Little House on the Prairie. I liked it too. I tried to get my daughter to watch it. It was impossible. She wouldn't understand even the concepts. The culture has changed and shifted so much. And some of the things actually in that series, I don't think it is even, we can't even talk about those things now. so okay, where did you grow up?
I'm sorry.
Where did you grow up?
In Japan. Okay, I was born and raised in Japan.
Okay.
I was in Japan. I stayed in Japan until I became like 30 some years old. So I spent out of Japan for more than like 30 years.
So how did you choose academia?
That was really coincidental. When I was the MBA student at the Keio University in Japan, I stayed at Ivey as an exchange student for 1 semester. There, I met Professor Michael Geringer. He was teaching strategic management at Ivey. And at that time, he was interested in Japanese business and management systems. And eventually, he invited me to apply for the PhD program at Ivey. Okay. But around that time, I was an MBA student, and I'm not particularly interested in, academic career. In fact, there were many employment opportunities in Japan, and they were quite attractive. However, I decided to accept and apply for the PhD program at Ivey because I had a strong desire to go abroad. And in fact, I found academic research really interesting when I was writing an MBA thesis, which is based on empirical analysis of Japanese corporations. And I was looking into the internationalization of Japanese corporations. So I decided to come and join the Ivey PhD program. But unfortunately, Mike Geringer left the university. He moved to another university shortly after I joined the Ivey. But instead, I met wonderful mentor, Paul Beamish. He had a great influence on my life and career. And Paul has trained many PhD students, but I think I'm the first international student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Something that is not on your CV that you think people might find interesting about you.
Okay. I was a member of the weightlifting club at university. Okay. I was representing the university. And in those days at the university, I spent more time in the campus gym than in the classroom. So actually, I lifted more than 220 kilograms in the full squat, and I competed in major, national competitions. But I didn't make much of a record. So I didn't put anything about my weightlifting experiences on my CV.
That's quite a lot, actually. 220 kilograms, like 400 plus pounds. It's huge. Okay. If you stopped doing what you're doing today, or if you could do it all over again, what would be the second best career path for you?
Oh, this is actually serious, but I'd like to be a fortune teller. Fortune teller. Yeah, okay. Okay. Let me explain why I think I want to be a fortune teller. I have always wondered why top executives don't read academic research, don't read our papers. Now, if they were really serious about improving business operations and performance, they should read academic papers, right? But they don't. And I was just wondering why. But it seems to me that these top executives probably intuitively believe that the business success is quite often determined by luck. Okay. Now, let me try to explain why I think they would think so. Now, suppose there are two persons, right? A and B, competing against each other, right? If A's ability is much higher than B's ability, then the probability of A beating B will be quite high, right? This can be explained by resource-based view. However, okay, if the difference in ability between A and B becomes smaller, then the probability of A beating B becomes lower. Now, this phenomenon can be observed in many occasions. For example, in marathon race, it is very hard to predict who will win among the top group of runners, right? This can apply to horse racing. Okay, it's very hard to predict who is going to win in the top group. In other words, in a fierce competition, situation, the probability of a winner being decided by ability becomes lower, and the probability of a winner being decided by factors other than ability will become higher. So this factor other than ability is what we call luck. Okay? So top executives who are facing fierce competition may need the advice of a fortune teller, maybe more than the advice of a business consultant. So this is why I think management consultant is really matured. Okay, market and no room for me to join, but it seems like a fortune telling business is still, I can say, out of vacancy there. So I want to try.
Actually, historically, while you were talking, I was thinking of historical figures. How many of them kept not actually fortune tellers, but people who looked at the stars and tried to figure out whether it was aligning, whether it was time to do such a thing, etc., etc. Yeah, I mean, I see your point. I see your point. And maybe that is why there's a lot of push for right now an alternative explanation to success, to searching success. People come up with this interesting things like purpose-driven organizations, executives with purpose versus ability, and yes, there's also like regrets. Have you got any regrets in life?
Regrets in my life. Well, I don't consider it as a regret, but I think I should have spent more time with my my parents when they were doing fine. You know, my parents now are in and out of the hospital, and it is getting harder and harder for me to communicate with them. So I wish I had talked more with my parents when they are healthier. So that is the only regret I have.
What did you learn from your biggest failure or mistake?
Biggest mistake. Well, I can't because I'm always making mistakes, so it's very hard to point out one. No, I don't have. Oh, I can't come up with any. But maybe I have so many. But maybe let me tell you later.
Okay, sure. Yeah. What are you most proud of?
Again, I have nothing to be proud of about myself yet. But maybe I can say that I recently mastered the moonwalk. But
that's an accomplishment, Shige. Okay.
But I can say I'm very, very fortunate to have met so many wonderful people in this profession, you know, like you. Okay. So
thanks.
It's really fortunate.
So let's talk about research a bit. How do you explain your research and what you do and why your research is important to people who don't read academic journals, who don't read our papers?
Okay. If I explain what I'm doing to my mother, for example, I would say I'm looking into why companies do international business and how, and which companies are more successful in international business. And I said this research is very important because by engaging in international business, the companies can expand the scope of their business opportunities. And the customers, ordinary people like us, also benefit from international business because our customers can obtain a variety of high quality goods and services from foreign countries. And the local government is also happy with the international business because the foreign companies bring in tax revenues and create local employment and transfer technologies. So international business is a win-win solution to the companies, to the customers, and to the government. So it's a perfect study. But if you ask me about my research in more detail, I can say that my early research has attempted to address the mainstream issues of international business strategy. But we took a non-economic perspective. Okay, for example, one of my my early research topic was the entry mode choice. Okay, when I started this research, entry mode research was dominated by so-called economic studies using the economic theories such as transactions cost theory, bargaining power theory, and agency cost theory. But our research team took a perspective of the institutional theory and showed that the non-economic factors such as the legitimacy have a significant impact on entry mode choice. And in our study of asset-seeking FDI, we did not actually rely on traditional theories of foreign direct investment or international trade, but instead we used the framework of the exploration and exploitation of organization learning to explain the mechanism of the asset-seeking FDI. Mm-hmm. And also in our study of subsidiary termination, we divided termination into two types: intended and unintended terminations. And we showed in our empirical study that termination, termination of a subsidiary is highly dependent on the subsidiary's initial purpose of establishment. Okay. So this study actually showed that the termination of foreign subsidiaries cannot be completely explained by economic factors such as the increased competition or low market demand. Okay. Then we shifted our focus to the analysis of performance of MNCs. The first thing we did was the variance component analysis of performance of foreign subsidiaries. When we started this analysis, this study, there were two dominant theoretical perspectives explaining the sources of performance variations: resource-based view and IO perspective. A resource-based view basically suggests that performance differences can be explained by company differences. And IO perspective basically suggests that the performance differences can be explained by industry differences. And actually, prior studies already revealed that company differences explain about 30 to 40%, and industry differences explain 10 to 20% of the total variations in performance. Then we wondered, how about country differences? How much country differences can explain performance differences? And in fact, we were hoping that Ivey, international business, could be a third stream of business research explaining the source of performance variation, in addition to resource-based view and IO perspective.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Can I continue, or maybe?
Yeah. Of course, go ahead.
Okay. And this study led to a series of related studies, such as the ones titled "Does Subnational Regions Matter? Which Country Matters?" Okay. And in our extended study, we also in extended study we looked into just the shape of performance distribution of subsidiaries, shape of performance distributions, and we found that shape of performance distribution is noticeably different, okay, from the parent firm to parent firm, from industry to industry, and from host country to host country. Okay, and even more, we found that performance distribution of subsidiaries, regardless of the levels, always follow non-normal distribution, where the mean and the skewness are positively correlated. So based on these observations, we presented an idea of the what we call variance-centered view, which is published in SMJ in 2017. And more recent years, I have been working on, many different topics, including the transfer of entrepreneurial passion from headquarters to foreign subsidiaries, characteristics of non-conventional FDI, such as the FDI in tax haven and FDI as a trade friction measure, FDI impact on home country employment and effects of national sentiment on FDI and so forth. So I have been working on these projects with the much younger researchers in different countries, but I basically enjoyed a lot and I learned a lot from young colleagues. Yeah.
Perfect. Looking back to all these different research projects, trying to map the field. When you map up the field, what's the next 5 to 10 years in the IB research going to be like? What's the focus going to be?
I see. Okay. I observe three major changes now: digitalization, emergence of giant corporations, and the rise of non-democratic countries and regions. Now, for digitalization, there is an argument that the role of MNC as an organization to internalize market transactions will be replaced by digital platforms, because digital technology makes cross-border transactions much more efficient than hierarchical arrangement. But on the other hand, China, if you look at China, China's Tencent, Alibaba, they are really big IT giant corporations. I think maybe they are top 10 or top 15 largest companies by market capitalization in the world. But their revenues come mostly from domestic Chinese market. Maybe 20% of their revenues come from Chinese market. So it will be quite interesting to see whether digitalization will facilitate globalization, or whether digitalization will slow the progress of globalization. If the process of digitalization evolves uniquely in its own way in each country. So this is kind of interesting question to examine. Mm-hmm. And about the giant corporations, giant corporations, especially the IT giants, represented by GAFA or BATX in China, they are becoming very, very big, and some of their revenues are, greater than the GDP of some countries. Okay, for example, as far as I remember, Amazon's revenues are higher than the GDP of Belgium and Thailand. So one may argue that these giant corporations are big, not only in economic presence, but also in political influence. So my question is, what is the consequence of emergence of giant corporations in political economy? So I'm particularly interested in how the business government relationship will evolve in the future. And the third one is about the rise of non-democratic countries and regions. Now, according to the data from the Swedish research company, I'm sorry, I forgot the name of this institution, but I learned that currently, there are 60 countries or regions that are considered democratic, and 119 countries and regions considered non-democratic. And the number of non-democratic countries and regions is growing. Or this is what I learned. And my own research also suggests that number and the value of inward FDI in non-democratic countries and regions are growing recent years. So my key question here is that how MNCs in democratic countries and regions balance the protection of democracy as a political ideology with the increasing economic dependence on non-democratic countries and regions. So these three topics are, in my view, are quite important issues to be investigated and addressed.
True, thank you. About the culture of IB scholarship that is evolving, can you summarize in your view how the culture of the IB scholarship has changed over the time that you started with Paul Beamish early at Ivey, and then now, because you're now talking about quite different things, and I mean, many of us think that there's this social engineering going on. There are some experiments going on at the global level. A couple of years ago, there were panels on nation building, and they were delivered by McKinsey consultants. So, I mean, nations are not built like that, but maybe people don't know history or anthropology, but what's the evolution going to look like, or what is the evolution happening at the moment?
Personally, I think IB scholars are becoming more confident than before, and the quality of research has improved significantly in terms of theoretical contributions and methodological rigor. So I think IB scholars have been making fruitful evolution. But however, I feel that IB research has deepened within its domain, but has not significantly expanded the domain. So this is what I feel. But overall, I'm quite impressed by the quality of research and the research questions. Researchers are asking now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who was? I mean, I think I know the answer, but who had the most impact on your upbringing, scholarly upbringing? Who had the most influence on you?
Yeah. Yes. Paul Beamish is the kind of default answer.
Okay. What was the best advice you received from Paul?
From Paul. Paul said that, never give up, and I will see it. So this is what Paul told me always. Also, I want to mention Professor late John Dunning. Okay, when I was doing the asset-seeking FDI research, and he gave me a lot of encouragement. Actually, he sent me a handwriting letter to encourage me to continue doing this research. And Professor Peter Buckley, Peter Buckley actually asked me to take up the chairmanship of the AIB Nagoya in 2011. So he gave me such great opportunities, and I learned a lot from that experience, because particularly in that year, 2011, mega earthquake and the tsunami attacked Japan. So we are wondering whether we could have AIB conference in Japan. But finally we had, but everything started with the Peter's advice and encouragement.
In your opinion, what are the top 3 mistakes that junior faculty or PhD students usually make? And what are the things that you would say, do this, don't do that?
Okay, top 3 mistakes. Okay. Okay, I think they tend to fail 3 things. They stop sleeping enough. They stop doing exercise, and they stop having fun. So these are mistakes.
So they should sleep a lot, and they should have fun, and they should exercise.
Yes.
That's right. Okay. What's your advice for the handling of the reviews? What is the handling of the research pipeline to young scholars?
Well, the only advice I have is the same as the Paul's advice. I just never give up, keep working, and you will see a better result. So this is the only things I can tell them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question. What's the question that I should have asked you but haven't?
Well, you have already asked many questions, enough questions, but you didn't ask me whether I'm happy or not.
Okay. Are you happy, Shige?
I'm happy. I'm very happy now.
That's it. That's all that matters. Why are you happy? Why?
Oh, why?
Why?
Oh, no, I just feel I'm kind of I'm satisfied with my life in Japan, satisfied with my colleagues here, satisfied with the my profession, satisfied with the nice colleagues like you and in the international community. Yeah, I'm very happy, and I feel very fortunate to stay in this career.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this interview. I learned a lot. I enjoyed it. I'm sure the audience will agree with me. Thank you, Shige.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.